Hey there, chums, and welcome to the second ever podcast with Chums. Hopefully you enjoyed the first one we did a couple of weeks back. It was myself and joined by Paul, as always, who hosted the last one. So this week I'm the host.
Yeah, we take turns.
Yeah. Quickly get into it. How do you think it went, our first ever podcast?
For our first ever one, I think it went pretty well, considering we're sort of really new to podcasting, setting up.
Rank amateurs.
I think it came out really well. I was pleased with it. I
was pleased with it. Yeah.
I was pleased. We got an audio version that's on Spotify, and that came out really well. And the visual version, which is available on YouTube on our YouTube channel, I thought that came out really well. And it was our first time, and I think it came out fine considering what we're sort of pasting it together with. Sort of, you're using your phone, I'm using my laptop, but a really cheap webcam. It's all good. I mean, like, it's a learning process, isn't it? We all can't be trash taste where they have a studio in Tokyo. Everything's paid for by their company. So I think it's pretty good. I mean, yeah. And I just got to correct you there. It's a Game with Chums podcast. You didn't say the title correctly, Mr. Ross. Podcast. Yes.
I said a podcast with Chums, which is not what this is called.
No. If you go searching for that, you won't find us.
Like I said, rank amateurs.
Mm-hmm.
A Game with Chums podcast.
That's right. Yeah.
I'll get that right next time I'm hosting in a couple of weeks. In a month actually, because we're doing this every 2 weeks and we're going to alternate hosting. So to kick things off, I guess same question as you asked a couple of weeks back.
Well,
what you've been playing, what you've been doing.
That's how we're going to start the podcast off. I've been playing Apex Legends with our mutual friend Dom, who you've met and you've played a few games. He's been on a few of our videos. Yeah, he's actually been on some Sea of Thieves and actually Apex videos.
And PUBG as well.
And PUBG. And the first game we played, we won.
Oh, nice.
We won. Yeah. So we managed to win our first game, which is really cool. And then after that, it just went downhill. We just kept going. Like, there's a new map.
Always the way.
There's a new map that Apex is released, and we're still getting used to that. We always tend to do better on the older map, the first map, King's Canyon, I think it's called. That's the first map. We always do better. That's how we won our first ever game. And the other map we always tend to do pretty badly because we don't know where to go and what's good. Basically, like the layout of the land, we don't know at all. But yeah, we've been playing some Apex Legends. We've been playing some Among Us with some friends of ours. Always good fun. And what else? I've been playing a bit more Cyberpunk, but not too much. I'm finding it hard to get into. I don't know.
It's still a bit messy.
It runs fine on this Series X. It's obviously there's a few bugs. Same with The Witcher 3, that had bugs when it first came out, but it runs okay on the Series. I haven't encountered any game crashing bugs or glitches like the older consoles have, the last gen consoles. So I can't really compare, but I'm just finding it difficult to get into the game. I mean, like the game I could compare it to is like Deus Ex, and I never really got into that. I know you like that game, but I never really.
Human Revolution.
Yeah,
I haven't played Mankind Divided yet.
I can't get into it. Maybe it's because it's in first person, sorry. And I always prefer my RPGs to be in third, mostly. Apart from, like, I sometimes played Skyrim in third person and first, but it gives you the option to switch between, which I really liked. And there, you just play as in first person, which in an RPG, I'm not really, because what's the point of doing cosmetics and stuff and building your character when you can't see it? You know what I mean?
See him in a mirror every now and then.
So it just puts me off a bit when I play an RPG. I know it's supposed to be more immersive, but I always think in third person it's more immersive. For me personally, anyway.
Yeah, I remember a lot of people complaining about that when they announced it was going to be first person only, because like you say, what's the point in creating a custom character if you never see him?
Yeah, or her,
A big
or
in a RPG.
or them. I mean, you can be gender neutral in Cyberpunk, which is good. So yeah,
Well, I did say them.
oh, you did. Sorry, my bad. Yeah, we want to get our pronouns correct.
I tend to just use them as a
Yeah.
coverall for everything. But
Fair
yeah,
enough.
so
Yeah.
you've been watching anything in particular, or just playing games?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Been watching. I've been watching WandaVision. Really good. Really good. It's essential watching for the whole MCU arc. It's sort of showing it where it's going. The future arc, the future phase 4
Phase 4
will be multiverse and time travel and stuff like that, and altered realities. That's where they're taking it, because where else could you go after Infinity, the Infinity Wars, the Infinity Stones? No else.
I was just thinking of letting the run finish and then binging it all, because they're quite short, aren't they? They're like
half an hour. Yeah, I mean the running time's 40 minutes, but about 10 minutes of that is actual like credits. So yeah, the first couple of episodes are a bit. It's weird. You're like, what's going on? But after like episode 3, I think it is, it's really interesting and really good. It's a really good show. I highly recommend watching it if you've been following the MCU and watching the films. Don't just give it a miss just because it's a Disney Plus TV show. It's essential watching. It leads into how Phase 4 is going to pan out, and it's really good. So yeah, get into that.
Like I say, I'll binge it when it's all finished, I think.
So how about yourself, Mr. Ross? What you've been watching, what you've been playing, and what you've been doing?
Well,
what have you been doing with your life?
Not much.
Yeah.
I said a couple of weeks ago that I'd started up Mass Effect Andromeda, so I'm still kind of whittling away at that. I think I'm about halfway through the story. I've done about half the loyalty missions and a couple of the vaults. And I think I said then, I'm not going to go nuts and do everything, because I just don't think the game really is good enough to warrant doing everything. That's why I stopped playing it last time. I was doing every quest I came across and burnt myself out, because it's really, a lot of it isn't good enough to carry that much sort of length, really. So I was going to do like main story, vaults, all the vaults on all the worlds, and then the loyalty missions. So that's still my plan. So I'm about halfway now, I guess, just sort of playing it whenever I feel like it. Other than that, not much else really, just the odd bit of Halo 5 multiplayer when I feel like it. And that's what I'm watching. I've been watching season 4 Attack on Titan, which is mad. It's very, very mad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like season 3. Like, in my opinion, season 3 is an absolute masterpiece, and season 4 is just, no spoilers or anything, but it's just such an about face that it's kind of hard to tell where it's going to land. But there's about 4 episodes of that left, I think, so I'll be watching that as it goes along. And anything else? I've been reading Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson, first book in the Mistborn series. I might have mentioned that a couple of weeks ago, because I've been reading that for a few weeks now, and it's very good. Very much enjoying it. I got halfway through the first book and then went and bought all the other ones.
Cool. Bought
7 books and halfway through the first one. Yeah, that's about all I've been doing, to be honest.
Right.
Okay. Not much of note, I'm afraid. Not very interesting.
Right.
A couple of topics we did have for this week, though. There was a state of play just a couple of days ago as we're recording this, and we haven't spoken about it.
No.
So we figured we'd do it now. So what were your thoughts? Did you watch it live, or did you watch it?
I didn't watch it at all. I didn't watch it at all. I was because my working hours is a bit antisocial, so I didn't get a chance to watch it. But I was getting a lot of updates on the Twitterverse about certain games. The one that stood out most was the Final Fantasy remake is getting an PS5 upgrade, and it's also integrated, whatever that means, and it also includes a new episode which will feature Yuffie. And so it's basically just a DLC. I think it's free if you have a digital and physical copy of last gen's version. So you get the free upgrade, and you might get the episode for free. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
But
I think if you have it on PS4, you get a free upgrade to the PS5 version. And the PS5 version.
Who's got a PS5 though? No one. I don't know anyone's got a PS5 because
I
no one
don't
can
know
get
anyone.
one. No one's...
even Dan, who was a part of the channel in the early days, big PlayStation fan, he doesn't even have one. No. I don't know anyone that's actually got one. No. I know a few people that managed to get a Series X. I don't know anyone that managed to get a PS5.
Yeah, thank you, scalpers.
Yeah, I think they've said that they've sold about 5 million of them, but who knows?
Yeah, but how many to actual consumers?
But yeah, that is the plan. If you have the game on PS4, then you get a free upgrade to the PS5 version, which contains the DLC and everything. And they're giving it away to PS Plus next month as well.
Yeah, I don't have PS Plus.
Version, that is. Yeah, I don't. I've cancelled mine ages ago. But people are annoyed about that because they get the PS4 version through Plus, but then that's not eligible to upgrade to the PS5 version.
No, you got to go and buy it. They don't. Yeah. I can sort of see why, but it's still a bit shitty. I mean, why not just give them, if everyone else is getting it for free, they're giving the game for free on PS Plus, just give them a free upgrade.
Yeah, it makes me wonder how they're even going to manage the licenses for that. Because they're going to have to make a specific PS Plus version of the game that's locked out. It's a bit strange. Yes. But, yeah, a few other things they showed. I didn't watch it live.
Did you watch the trailer for Final Fantasy?
The Integrate trailer? Yeah, I saw the trailer. Well, I didn't watch the State of Play live, but I watched it on YouTube a couple of hours after it had aired. So I saw it all as part of that. And people are upset about that State of Play.
They're always
just like people were upset about the Nintendo Direct week before, or whenever that was.
Yeah.
I thought it was a pretty decent State of Play, to be honest. They showed a lot of decent stuff. Ken Bridge of Spirits still looks really good. Returnal looks really fun. Yeah. And new Deathloop trailer they showed. I'm really looking forward to Deathloop. New Arcane game. So
yeah,
that's PS5 console exclusive for a year, so it won't be on Xbox until next May. But it's on PC day and date as well, so I'll probably play it there, and that looks really fun. But yeah, I thought it was a decent State of Play. Showed some good stuff, good trailers. It's just there weren't any new announcements, so they didn't show I think people were expecting new footage for Horizon Forbidden West and God of War Ragnarok, which was probably a bit of a long shot anyway. So people were upset about that.
So, yeah. Wasn't there? What game was it? It got delayed. It might be indefinite delay. Oh, people were really up in arms about that. I can't remember what game it was, but
on PS5 game or
no, it lost the developer. I can't remember. It changed developer. Oh God, I can't.
Vampire the Bloodline.
Yeah, Masquerade the Vampire
the Masquerade
Bloodline. Something. Yeah. The sequel was supposed to come out, but that's been pushed back. I don't know. They were saying it's delayed indefinitely. So
the publisher took the entire dev team off of it, didn't they?
Yeah.
Removed the entire dev team. So God knows what's going on there.
Everyone was getting hyped for that, and people were the game was available on Steam, and it was they're sort of doing a big promotion, not big promotion, but pushing it. And then now it doesn't look like it might not never come out, or it'll take a good few years more for it to come out. So yeah, people are upset about that.
What's going to happen with that now?
Yep.
Take an entire dev team off the project. I mean, what does that mean? Are they going to get someone in to pick up where they left off? Are they going to scrap it and start again? But yeah, your background has reminded me of the question I meant to ask you, actually.
This whole
Strikers.
Thing. Yeah.
Old thing. You just threw that up.
This whole
Persona 5 Strikers just came out recently, so I was wondering if you had any interest in that.
I'm going to get it, yeah. I'll eventually get it. I'll get it for the PS4. I don't have a PS5. It apparently...
Again, who does?
Yeah. It's a direct sequel to the original. Because a lot of people are annoyed that it wasn't a direct sequel to Royal, but it's only the vanilla game that it's a direct sequel to.
Very confusing.
Yeah, it's like when Persona 4 Golden that came out, and that was just had extra characters, more content. and that's what Royal was as well. New characters, new stories, expanded plot lines. But the Strikers is just a follow up to the original. It's got nothing to do, no characters or any story threads will be carried over to Strikers. But it's not an RPG in a sense like how it was, like a turn-based one. It's not like that.
It's a
It's
Muso
like,
game, isn't it?
yeah, so it's like a Dynasty Warrior sort of thing. Yeah.
I think when they announced it, people were like, "Oh, great! Really wanted a Persona Muso." But then they kind of started showing more of the story stuff. People were like, "Oh, wait, it's actually a story-based proper sequel."
Yeah.
I haven't actually checked how it reviewed and anything. I assume it reviewed well.
Yeah. It gets rid of your social links, though. I think it doesn't do that. So, but I read up a bit up about it because people were like, "Oh, does your romances carry over?" And no, they don't carry over or anything like that. So it's like a sequel.
Kind of throwing out some of the main draws of the Persona franchise.
Yeah.
But I still haven't played Persona 5, so
yeah,
it'll be a while for me, I guess.
Okay. What's our main topic for today, Mr. Ross? What are we talking about? Our main
topic was something we recorded the episode a couple of weeks back, and then as soon as we wrapped it up, we were like, "Right, that was great." Oh wait, we didn't talk about this. And it was kind of a big story at the time, and so we figured we'd push it to this episode, and that is Google having killed off Stadia in under a year or something from launch. I mean, technically it's not dead, but it's dead.
Yeah, they closed all their dedicated studios.
I say all their studios. They're 2 first-party studios. Jade Raymond left. They're not bothering to develop in-house exclusives for it anymore, and they've said they're sort of transitioning it to a platform, sort of technology and platform offering, so that others can use it to deliver content and stuff. But let's be honest, another year down the line, it won't exist anymore. That'll be it.
Yeah.
And I never even tried Stadia. Did you ever give it a go?
Never. No. I never. It's difficult for a new player on the in the console world to come forward. I mean, Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft and PC sort of they've got that sort of locked down now. Any newcomers, even with backed by Google. Was it Google? Yeah, it's Google, wasn't it? Is Google Stadia? Yeah.
Yeah.
Even with a Goliath like that, it's very hard because there's only so many players. You know what I mean? Like, I find it like I own all like gaming PC, Nintendo Switch, PS4, and Xbox. It's very hard to manage your time to play, like alternate between those 4 most of the time. I mostly play on Xbox, but obviously if there's exclusives on other or platforms like the PlayStation and Switch, I obviously got to play on that. So when this new console came out, which is purely digital, and Xbox are now doing their own digital service, and Game Pass, which is an online service, it's very hard for Stadia to sort of make a name for itself, to stand out, because I think Xbox is sort of getting more on top of it, especially with their cloud service and stuff like that. It's very difficult for a new console to sort of come into this sort of battleground, as you were, and make and be competitive.
Everyone's already very well entrenched.
Yeah.
You've got, like you say, Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, PC. They're all very, very entrenched at this point.
Yeah.
And generally, people will kind of. This is probably less true of maybe the people that watch this podcast. People that are very sort of into gaming and stuff are more likely to have sort of a couple of platforms that they go between. But the average consumer tends to just pick one and stick with it. And if you're going to come into a business like gaming, you kind of need to spend big to do it. And Google weren't really interested in doing that. I don't think. I think a lot of people sort of felt when they came into it, they're going to kind of half-ass it for a couple of years, and then it'll go into the Google graveyard with all the other things they've killed. And that seems to be the case. They set up 2 studios. Neither of them released a game. I think they bought Typhoon, the people that made Journey to the Savage Planet. they didn't release a game since being bought by Google, and now they've been shut down. And they were going around sort of writing checks. Like Jason Schreier from Bloomberg put out a piece a couple of days ago that said they were basically spending tens of millions. Like they were going to like Ubisoft or EA or whoever to get their existing multi-plat games on their platform, and they were having to pay tens of millions for a port of each game. So they're paying money hand over fist just to kind of get some kind of parity to the other platforms. And it's kind of another story that came in the wake of the Microsoft Bethesda buyout. And apparently Phil Harrison, who was running Stadia for Google, who, I don't know if you remember Phil Harrison, but he worked for the PlayStation in the PS3 era, and then went to Microsoft for the Xbox One era, and then went to Stadia. So
not had a
3 for 3 there.
Yeah, he's not had
he's not had a sparkling career in a fair while. But he in a sort of, I think he had a live stream to staff to tell them that it was all sort of going tits up, and apparently mentioned that Microsoft buying Bethesda was one of the final nails in the coffin. And the article didn't really expand on that idea all that much. So people were speculating, oh, maybe Google wanted to buy Bethesda to really compete, and then when Microsoft bought them, they were like, oh well, now we can't compete. But I think what's more likely is they saw Microsoft spend $7.5 billion on Bethesda and thought, oh, that's the kind of money we need to be spending. Yeah, I don't think so. We're out. Yeah. I think it was a bit of a wake-up call for him to say, oh, Christ, we really need to be spending some serious money if we want to be in this. And they didn't. It just, the will wasn't there. And I remember not long after Stadia was announced, there was I can't remember what website this was on, but there was a story about how promotions work at Google, and basically people start up projects just to get a promotion because that looks good, like to the higher ups, that you sort of brought a project to market. So that's why Google apparently have so many things that they've just killed off in a couple of years, because people start projects just to get promotion, then they move up, and they just leave it behind and it gets killed. So yeah, that's probably what's going to be Stadia's fate as well. But it does bring us around to another kind of aspect of the topic, which you touched on a bit, which is games industry going more and more digital. So I mean,
yeah,
I've got quite a lot of games behind me.
Yeah,
I quite like my physical games.
I love physical games, but I'm more leaning towards digital for this generation. Obviously, like with PC, it's Steam and good old games, so that's all digital library. Because Xbox have now got Game Pass, which all their first party games are available on there, and a lot of third party games are available on there. So I haven't had the need. I haven't bought one new game for this generation yet. It's early days, but it's all on Game Pass. And I find like a lot of, in the old days, you used to get the box, you get the manual, and you get loads of get like a nice booklet or something like with art in it and stuff, and
maybe some stickers or something.
Stickers. We get nice big like index, like manual, like with lore and stuff in about the game and the world and stuff, and some character details and stuff. But now you don't really get that. I mean, the last game I bought, which had that, was funny enough was Cyberpunk. That actually had a manual in there and everything like that. It had like physical, like I can look in there, and it had a map. It's backstory about the city and stuff like that. So that was good. But
kind of have a bit of a knack for doing that stuff. They did the same with The Witcher 2.
Yeah.
Just I've got it on the shelf up there, but just the basic edition of the game on 360 came with like a cardboard slipcase, which one of the staff had signed. And it came with like a mini guide and a map of like Temeria and everything. So yeah, see, I'm not surprised they did that with
here got some cards, some like postcards. Got the Night City map here, as you can see, and yeah, you got like a nice, well, it's not a big one, but it's a world compendium. Compendium, which is I mean, I like it. I always like looking. I love like art books, I think you got. Yeah, look, I mean, look at that. You bought me one for the Dragon Age world, which contained like lots of lore. Yeah, I got. I mean, you bought me part 2. Really good. I've always like going slightly off topic, but I prefer Mass Effect games over Dragon Age, but I like the world of Dragon Age more than I like the world of Mass Effect. So I've always been more into the fantasy sort of Dungeons and Dragons sort of world, the old sort of medieval sort of style. The aesthetic of that's much more my sort of my cup of tea. It's like Lord of the Rings and all that, more than I say space sci-fi. It means as much as I like Star Wars and stuff. The first Mass Effect was more grounded in a way. The later ones got a bit more less grounded, but sort of less Star Trek. Magic. Yeah, less Star Trek, more sort of Star Wars in a way. That's why I always preferred the first Mass Effect. It was always more. I mean, you go around the ship and stuff. You had that the encyclopedia, the index that would talk to you and tell you about how things worked. And yeah, Rhodex. That's it. So yeah, I mean, I liked Mass Effect games more over than Dragon Age. I mean, but I prefer the world of and the lore of Dragon Age. But anyway, that was just slightly off topic there. But
I agree with you though. I really like the world of Thedas. It's great. I've got all the books and all the novels and everything as well. But yeah, to sort of I've got a lot of physical games.
Yeah.
That's just one. Yeah. That's one shelf. There's actually 4 shelves here. There's 2 here, 2 here. And then I've got another shelving unit over there with all my older games in it. But I agree with you. Like Game Pass is changing the way I sort of consume games as well, because like I like having the thing on my shelf and being able to hold it and go, oh yeah, that's nice. And even more so when, like you say, you'd actually get stuff in the case. Now you just get like a safety leaflet or something, or warranty or whatever it is, and that's it. But
so what's the point? Like you just get a box and a disc and just a leaflet in it with like
some art that's printed in quite low DPI these days as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so convenient. Digital games are so convenient because you just sit on your ass, pick up your controller, you press a button and it loads. You don't have to get up and go. I mean, I know it's not a hardship to go to the shelf to put a disc in, but it's just so much more convenient, especially if you're going between a few games.
Yeah, it's a shame because we like going to shops and finding, like, we always liked going to Game and all the Play Nation and stuff like that in our local area, and going and actually looking for games, especially like retro games as well. But I always liked a good game. A good game, like the shop itself, nice, bright, nicely lit.
There are a few good ones left now. But
there's one in there was one in where we used to hang out in Croydon that was really good. The one inside the shopping centre, and then they got rid of that, and then turned that small one on the high street, which is really quite dingy. But I always liked going out there and just looking and seeing what's about. Because I always used to go in to buy a game and then always have a look to see if there's anything else like on the cheap, or like it's just like game hunting in a way. But yeah, now I don't think my room, my place can take another 6-7 years console generation of buying physical games.
That's the other thing as well. It's just
where am I going to put everything? As I like to keep things. I really rarely get rid of games.
Yeah,
I'm like a slight hoarder when it comes to these things. I just can't part with them because a lot of them
they're memories. A large part of it is their memories. I look at my shelf over there and I've got my Saturn games. I'm like, and I remember sitting down and playing Panzer Dragoon for hours on end. I pick it up and look at the case and be like, yeah, that was amazing. But it is just, there's so much. Like I said, I've got 4 shelves of games here, anime figures and everything. All this shit I need to stop buying. I've got like 2 shelves of art books. I've got a wall of anime. I've got a whole other shelving unit over there that's got like Blu-rays and 4K Blu-rays and CDs and books and
I mean,
my retro games in it. It's just, it takes up so much space.
Everything seems to be going digital. I mean, like you got like Blu-rays and DVDs will probably be less and less because everything's online services now, like Netflix, Disney Plus, Amazon. Yeah, just like more. I know there's more, but those are the main ones. So yeah, it's going to be a digital future. I think anyway. I mean, that's why I think I was contemplating buying a Series X or a Series S, but I thought the Series X is more powerful. And plus, maybe I do want to buy a game that on a physical game version. I mean, if it's not on Game Pass, I probably will just go and buy a physical copy of the game. If I can't get it digitally, or
that's the thing. I mean, it
if
gives
it's
you
not
the
available.
option.
Yeah, so it just gives me the option. Yeah,
I would lament if physical media went away. I am sort of over the last couple of years have been buying fewer games just purely because of space. But I like having the option. And it's an interesting point you bring up the Series S as well, because don't want to dredge up the past too much, but when Microsoft announced the Xbox One, people went fucking ape shit.
yeah,
With good cause.
yeah,
Because it wasn't just the fact that it was kind of like tying digital licenses to your hardware. It was more the sort of having to get some kind of weird permission or something to resell your games, because they were like, oh, we're going to have some kind of partnership with brick and mortar stores or whatever to resell your licenses. And then there was the 24-hour check-in, which I think is a bit overblown. I mean, how many of us aren't online on our consoles at least once a day anyway? But a lot of that stuff kind of has almost come back in a way, and how digital gaming has become. It was becoming
it was the future.
digital.
Yeah.
It was becoming fairly digital over towards the end of the PS3 and 360 gen. The game started getting day one releases on the digital stores, and then over the last generation, it just took off to the point now where both console manufacturers have a digital console you can buy that just won't take discs. Who could have imagined that sort of 7-8 years ago, before the PS4 and the Xbox One came out, that there'd be consoles that wouldn't be able to play discs at all, and that people go, yeah, I like the idea of that.
I don't think people were ready back then. They weren't ready back then. I mean, Netflix wasn't as big as it was. I remember when it first came out, I had it for a bit, and I was like, I got more films on my shelf and more anime on my shelf than their library does. Because they were just starting out. So I cancelled my subscription, which was only like a couple of pounds, something like that. I was like, yeah, I got more. Now it's huge now, and everyone wants their own streaming service now. Everyone
now it's huge, and now they're
jacking the price up.
14 quid a month.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is obviously you kind of have to have, if you want to push for an all digital future, you kind of have to have your ducks in a row. You need to be able to let people buy games digitally the day they come out on disc, so that they don't feel like they're missing out. The big thing for me is the price disparity, because physical games are still cheaper than digital games, and that just
doesn't make
never
any
sits
sense
right with me, because you're getting effectively the same thing. You're getting the bits and bytes that are on the disc, or they're on your hard drive, and these days you have to install every game anyway, so it's effectively the same thing. But you're getting an actual physical product when you buy a physical copy. You can actually hold it, and it has some kind of tangible value. The digital version, they're saving money on manufacturing and shipping and all that logistical stuff, but they're not passing that value on to the consumer, and that just doesn't sit well with me. So while I am a lot more digital friendly these days, it is generally because of, like you said, Game Pass, because I can just pay my fee and then I just play the games, and I kind of don't care that I don't own the games, because it's 10 quid a month or whatever it is.
Yeah.
10.99 a month, I think it is, for Ultimate. And for that, at that point, I kind of don't care that I don't own the games.
Sorry.
I'd rather pay a smaller fee and be able to play the games than pay the price of a game but kind of not own the game still, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
If I'm going to pay 50 quid, I kind of want something on my shelf, even though I'm saying I'm running out. But yeah, so digital purchasing, I'm still kind of a bit iffy on. There's only, I think there's probably less than 5 games I've bought full price digital. If I'm going to buy a digital game, I tend to wait for it to go on sale. But something like Half-Life Alyx, don't get a choice in that. It's digital or nothing. So okay, guess I'm paying full price for that for a digital copy. But yeah, for me, I think Game Pass is kind of maybe not the future, but a big part of the future because it's just so convenient and there's so much variety in it. And all first-party Xbox stuff goes in it. Where you and me are both Xbox players more than any other platform. Like you said earlier, we've both got all the platforms apart from PS5, which you can't buy one at the moment. But Xbox is kind of both of our preferred platforms. So obviously we quite enjoy first-party Xbox games, and they're all going to be in Game Pass, and that's going to be true for Bethesda soon as well. So Game Pass is kind of a no-brainer if you're an Xbox owner, I think. So I think that's going to kind of be like the thin end of the digital wedge for me in kind of separating how I play games from how I own games.
Yeah, I mean, we got a whole series exploring Game Pass because it's that good. There's so many options on there. Maybe we should have a series called Exploring Steam and play games on us. So we've got so many, but you don't get. We don't. You still have to pay for the Steam games. Do you technically own Steam? Do you own Steam games? I don't think you do you? Don't own them?
I think they have actually said that if they ever had to shut it down, they'd make it so that you still own the games that you've bought somehow.
So I know good old games you actually own if you own the copy. I think it's slightly different to Steam.
DRM-free.
Yeah. Well, with Steam, yeah. But yeah. Digital over physical.
Something that I think is probably going to be tested. Yeah, ownership of physical goods, digital goods rather, is something that's not going to be an issue now, but is going to be kind of tested, I think, the longer things go on, because there are going to be things like companies going under or rights being lost. I mean, there are games that have been on digital stores that have been delisted because like the company folded and nobody knows who owns the rights to it anymore, so they can't sell it anymore. And I think in most of those instances, if you bought the game, you can still download it, but you can't, like, if you never bought it, you can't then go and buy it and download it. So they kind of lost the time a bit. Whereas physical games, disc might stop working at some point. I think I've actually got some DVDs that don't work anymore, probably disc rot or whatever the hell happens to it, plastic fatigue, who knows. But they're probably going to last a fairly long time. And yes, you won't be able to patch them if the systems go down, but you'll still be able to stick them in an offline console and play them. So yeah, it's kind of, I can understand where people that like their physical games and feel like digital is kind of going to run them off the rails a bit. I can understand where they're coming from, because all that stuff is kind of untested still. And probably won't, sort of answers to that probably won't emerge for a fair while. But yeah, that's my thoughts. Digital, quite handy actually.
So what would you say at the moment? So what side of the street do you see yourself on? Are you more on at the moment still on the physical, or are you leaning more towards digital?
I'd say in terms of buying games, still probably like 90% physical. Like you say, you said you haven't bought any games for the new system yet. I've only bought 2, and those were both like day one. I bought Watch Dogs Legion just because I was like, oh, Ray Tracing London, and I've played like an hour of it. And I bought Yakuza 7 just because I was like, oh, a physical copy of a Yakuza game on Xbox, I want to buy that. And also it came with a steelbook. So those are the only 2 games I've bought since November. So I am buying a lot fewer games these days, just because Game Pass, it's right there. I just download something and play it. But it's never gonna cover all bases. There are always gonna be games that don't come out on it. And if I have to buy them, probably be physical, because for one, it's cheaper.
Yeah.
I think that's the one thing I'd like to see digital change. I'd like them to be cheaper than physical. That makes sense to me. Them being more expensive doesn't make sense to me.
Cool.
How about you?
I'm leaning more towards digital at the moment. Obviously, I do like physical, but yeah, I'm going to be I think this generation I'll be more digital, and plus the only thing I'll probably have to spend is more internal storage to get more of that. But yeah, it'll be more even on Game Pass, or even if I have to buy it digitally, I probably will. It's just because it'll be more convenient and I don't have to deal with so many game boxes and stuff.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I can find anywhere to put like 8, 9. I got eight generations of physical games. I just can't. I just don't know where. I would have to hire buy a separate storage room just to put everything in. But yeah, I say at the moment, say about 70% digital. And I mean, like, obviously, if there's a game like a BioWare game, I'll probably get that. If they got like a special edition, I'll buy that physical because I just like those the new Mass Effect. I'll probably buy that the physical, and the new Dragon Age buy that physical, with a special edition. Obviously, they normally have some pretty good stuff come with it. But yeah, I think this generation will be a digital one for me.
I think I can kind of see myself going a similar way, because it's kind of like the same way with other media, like CDs. I rarely buy CDs anymore.
That's a good point. Yeah,
it's just I've got Google Play Music on my phone. Everything I want is on there. But then there'll be that one band I've been listening to for 20 years, and I'll be like, I'm going to buy their vinyl. And then same with films. It's like, most films I can watch, like, I can rent them on Amazon Prime or whatever. But that specific series, I want the latest film in that. So, and that's kind of, I can see like gaming going the same way. Like, most stuff, fine with playing it on Game Pass or like buying it on sale digitally or whatever. But if new Halo comes out, I'm going to buy a physical copy of the new Halo, new Mass Effect as well. So I think I can probably see myself going the same way, in that I just sort of buy a physical copy of the game I really care about, and then everything else, just play it digitally. Because I have kind of come to the realization I don't need to own every single game I've ever played over the last few years. And like, you've got those indie games that, like, I mean, most indie games don't get a physical release, but you get like that indie game that lasts 3 hours, and you play it and go, yeah, I really like that, and then never played it again. I don't really need to own those, even digitally. I'll play them on Game Pass and then I'll move on.
I'm kind of glad that I never really bought PC physical games. Never. I think the last one I did buy was I think I bought some for my sister, and I know you bought one for her. You bought a Dead Space one, but I think the last one I bought was the Old Republic. That's the last one I bought, and yeah, that was, how long ago was that? About 2009, I think it was. 2011. When did the Old Republic come out? Sometime back then, years ago.
Around about a decade, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. So
90 DC games were a thing.
Yeah.
Like,
I've
got up in my parents' loft, I've got Quake, Duke Nukem 3D and stuff, and like the old 90s PC boxes that were like this big. And I used to have.
What are you, Metal? Who are you, Metal Jesus? Like collecting like
yeah,
PC.
I mean, you joke, but I mean, you see him on his channel. Those were big boxes. They took up so much space.
Huge. He like I wanted to, like, if I ever get the chance, like if I had a guest on this podcast and we were talking about this subject, I will be Metal Jesus, because he likes these physical games.
Stuff. Yeah.
He's got like a whole game room, so he's got the space to put it. Even there, it still looks kind of like it's filling up quite quickly, because every other like video he does, it's a pickup hole. And I was like, we tried to do a few videos like that. Obviously we didn't have our own little game room. We always used to do it in a pub or something like that. So very ghetto. But like, because we did like go games hunting, and we still do. But yeah, it's like I don't think I could get all those games from all those different consoles and generations and have anywhere to put them. I'll be like sleeping on top of games.
Yeah, he's got like a converted basement, hasn't he? And it's just full of games and consoles and everything.
Yeah.
We don't really have basements here in the UK.
No, we don't. No. And Americans freak out when they see washing machines in kitchens. They're like, what the hell? Wasn't that in your basement? It's like, well, we don't have that. Washer and dryer. We don't have that. It's just in our kitchen for space. But yeah. But anything else we need to chat about? Is that are we, Mr. Ross?
I think we're going to be wrapping it up there.
Yeah.
For podcast number 2, and I realise this is quite an emotive subject really in the gaming industry. People really love their physical stuff. Yep. People that really love their digital stuff really are confused by people that love their physical stuff, and it kind of generates a lot of arguments. So we thought we'd discuss it. And
I mean,
go
on. I don't see why people are confused. I mean, unless you really just this generation or last generation that you got into gaming, if they're that young, I can see why they can go digital. But people before that who had to buy it, no choice but to buy it digital or physical, I don't see why they would have an issue with people who, you know, who if they go digital, then people then they bought physical, then they went digital, and then they have a problem with people buying digital. I'm like, well, you remember what it was like, you know what I mean? I might have got this wrong way around actually.
It's the internet, man. People argue over
it. Yeah.
People
anyway,
will be like, I have an opinion, so it must be the correct opinion. You're wrong. But yeah, let us know in the comments below whether you're a physical or a digital person, or whether you even care at all, or if you think your habits will change in the future. And with that, podcast number 2 comes to an end.
Yeah, I mean, follow us on our social medias, on Twitter, our personal Twitters, which I'll be putting on the on our description on the YouTube version, because I've decided now to actually include our social links on there, because I never do.
Helped us over the years,
yeah, like so we have a Facebook page, we have the Game of Chums Twitter page, and we both have our own personal pages. So please give those a follow if you feel inclined. And we also have an Instagram, we have a Tumblr, and we have an audio version which is available on Spotify. But yeah, if you prefer like to listen,
if you don't want to see our beautiful faces,
if you don't want to see my magnificent Persona 5 background, which is virtual, it's not green screened, so it's why it's so shit. And you can have a look at Rory's like anime figures and
anime figurine,
all these waifus and stuff like that. But yeah, like we'll be coming back again in about a fortnight, 2 weeks.
Yeah. Mid-April we'll be back, and
yeah, I mean,
the host's baton will be back in Paul's hands.
I mean, if anything comes up during those 2 weeks, we'll probably do another podcast next week if it's really big news or something amazing happens, like Microsoft has bought Sony or something like that. And
we're not going to be completely rigid with the 2 weeks thing. It's what we're doing going forward. But if something big comes up, we'll talk about it.
And if the podcast gets more popular, then people want us to do it once a week, we can work something out. But yeah.
And on that note, also, if you have any ideas for things we should discuss, then do drop them in the comments down below, or hit us up on Twitter with that stuff, because we're always open to suggestions as well.
If you have any questions,
we might struggle to come up with this.
If you have any questions, if you got questions, we'll in the future, if we hear enough questions, we'll have our own like Q&A section near the end of the podcast, just to answer your question. Yeah, just to answer your questions. But yeah.
Okay, 420 Sniper Elite says, "Why are you guys shit?" Oh, great, thanks.
It's a question.
Serious question.
It's a question. If it's a bad or insulting question, the question's a question. So yeah.
But if you do have questions, don't wait for us to start doing community questions thing. You can always ask and we'll answer.
Yeah.
And until then, we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Bye.